Giving you a little leniency, but yeah, she'll
You
submit
want-
that
you
for
wanna
the
hear the
record.
answer?
So, no. I'll now recognize the chair of the full committee, Chair Rodgers, for 5 minutes.
Clearly, we are facing a growing grid reliability crisis that's jeopardizing our economy and our safety. According to the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, 2/3 of the nation is facing an elevated risk of outages. The nation's grid operators agree the causes are state renewable mandates, bans on natural gas, lack of pipeline capacity, and new EPA regulations that will close power plants. Chairman Phillips, do you agree with our nation's grid operators?
Yes, I share the concern about the reliability challenges that we have ahead.
You testified in previous hearings that you had very limited interaction with EPA in the development of new regulations for power plants. What steps have you taken to improve coordination and communications between FERC and EPA?
So I'm glad to report that last fall we had a technical conference at FERC where we invited EPA, their leadership, as well as utility leadership around the country to talk about their potential rules. We took feedback, gave it to them, submitted it in their record, and EPA actually changed the final rule to include a reliability emergency off-ramp based upon the feedback that they got from FERC.
Are you concerned about the new EPA regulations and their impact on closing power plants across this country?
We are always concerned about reliability. It's job number one. To be clear, we provided feedback. That feedback was incorporated. We believe FERC is doing all that we can to protect the reliability of our grid.
Thank you. Chairman Christie, do you believe there's more work that we could do to improve coordination between FERC and EPA?
I think we should have weighed in much more with EPA than we did. We sent them a transcript of a hearing, and I think that was it. The problem with the power plant rule, and again, the grid operators, PJM, SPP, ERCOT, MISO, they all filed comment at EPA, and they were very blunt about what the rule was going to do, the EPA power plant rule. They were very blunt. It was going to materially degrade reliability. So they stood up and let EPA know that. We submitted a transcript, which had some testimony that went both ways, but the worst testimony was from Mr. Goffman of EPA when I asked him, have you done any analysis of whether generating units can finance the compliance? Because if you can't finance compliance, it doesn't matter what the timelines are. And he essentially admitted, no, we haven't done any serious analysis of whether they can finance compliance. Because if you can't finance compliance, these generating units are going to close down. So I think that that's going to have a tremendously deleterious effect on our grid reliability.
Thank you. Hydropower, the original source of renewable energy, produces far superior power to weather-dependent Chinese solar panels and batteries. Hydropower keeps the lights on, powers our economy in the Pacific Northwest. 75% of our electricity is hydro in Washington State. It's reliable, it's renewable, and it's imperative when the wind isn't blowing, the sun isn't shining. So we see EPA shutting down power plants, and we also see efforts by this administration to tear out dams in the Pacific Northwest. None of this makes sense to me. Chairman Phillips, as you know, I've led an effort for multiple Congresses to reform FERC's hydropower licensing process to preserve our existing fleet and expand hydropower production where it can. I think you agree that the FERC licensing process could be modernized. I wanted to ask, since hydropower is so critical to grid reliability, especially in a state like Washington State, what is FERC doing to prioritize the relicensing of these existing hydropower facilities?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too agree, and I support our hydro facilities around the country, including pump storage as well. We know that there are a lot. We have over almost a third of our hydro facilities around the country will be up for relicensing between now and 2030. We are aware of it. We're working hard to staff up. We're hiring. Everybody here and everybody watching, FERC is hiring, and we want you to come and be a part of our team. But we are getting prepared, and we are ready to address this need.
Thank you. Clearly, it's critical infrastructure. The Columbia Snake River system is critical infrastructure, amazing investments made by the federal government. What specific actions do you believe, Chairman Phillips, Congress can take to simplify the process and ensure reasonable timeframes for decisions and that these decisions are met?
So I've made streamlining our processes regarding infrastructure across the board a priority, and we've seen those timelines come down. With regard to hydro, we instituted I call it a fast lane. It's like an expedited process.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt real quick, because I want to hear more. We can talk about that separately. What would you say to those who suggest we should tear out the dams in favor of solar power?
I'm not aware of anyone making that particular request, but I'm an all of the above. I have an all of the above approach. I believe we need every tool that we can get to help America address our concerns and continue to be the leader of the world when it comes to energy.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you. I yield back.
I think we've had a hearing where that comment was actually made.